Before you buy an iPad mini, watch this all the way through. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why the next iPad mini, the iPad mini 8, might be the most important update this little tablet has ever seen. What features are most likely, when to expect it, and whether you should buy now or wait. And stick with me to the end because I'll give you a super simple, no-nonsense yes or no buying guide you can use the second you finish watching. Quick note so we're on the same page. What you're about to hear is based on consistent reporting from reliable sources, Apple's recent patterns and supply chain chatter. Nothing's official until Apple says it, but there's a clear picture forming. And if you use your iPad mini for flying, gaming, note-taking, reading, or as a compact creator tool, this absolutely matters. Let's start with the power, because this is the change you will feel every single day. The next iPad mini is expected to jump to an A18 class chip, the same generation powering Apple's newest iPhones. Translation: top-tier single-core speed for snappy apps, faster multi-core for multitasking, and a GPU that's actually built for modern mobile gaming. If you've ever had your mini get warm or dip frames in long sessions of Genshin, Fortnite, or Call of Duty, this upgrade is going to be a quiet revolution. Expect console-style lighting effects and smoother frame pacing thanks to hardware-accelerated graphics features Apple's been adding since A17 Pro, plus a neural engine tuned for on-device AI. That means smarter photo edits, live transcription, and creative tools running locally, with better battery efficiency than you might expect. Realistically, this chip sets you up for 5 to 6 years of iPad OS updates, so if you care about longevity, this is the moment you've been waiting for. Now, display. The question everyone asks, is the iPad mini finally getting 120Hz ProMotion? As much as I'd love to say yes, it's still unlikely at this price tier. Apple typically keeps 120Hz for Pro devices, but there's one display change that could instantly fix the mini's most talked about annoyance: jelly scroll. If you've ever noticed text wobble slightly when you scroll, you know exactly what I mean. The fix doesn't require OLED or mini LED. It's about the display controller and orientation. Several credible reports suggest Apple has been working on tweaks to reduce that effect on compact LCDs. If that lands on the Mini 8, you'll feel it immediately in reading. Twitter, X, doom scrolling, Reddit, and email. Same 8.3-inch size, same sharp liquid retina look, but smoother, cleaner motion without the distraction. And yes, brightness and color accuracy should get a standard year-over-year bump. Camera's next, and this one matters more than you think for real life. Apple's moved the front camera to the landscape edge on their latest iPads because most of us use the tablet sideways on a keyboard, stand, or case. Expect the iPad mini 8 to follow that move. Center stage stays, so it keeps you framed on video calls as you move around. For FaceTime, Zoom, Teams, classroom sessions, and cockpit checklists where you glance into camera, landscape placement is a quality-of-life upgrade you notice every single call. Rear camera? Don't expect a massive change. A modest sensor update for better low light and sharper documents is likely, but the Mini's not a camera-first device. The front camera relocation, though, is a big win. Now for the artists, note-takers, and students, Apple Pencil. The strong expectation is that the Mini 8 supports Apple Pencil Pro, the squeeze gesture, barrel roll, hover, and subtle haptics that make drawing feel more like pen on paper. If you love GoodNotes, Notability, Procreate Pocket, or you're storyboarding and marking up PDFs, this is a dream on a compact canvas. The Mini's lightweight and one-hand grip make it the perfect digital notebook. Pencil Pro support would also mean better palm rejection, pressure curves, and new shortcut actions that speed up your workflow. If Apple keeps support for the newer USB-C Pencil as the budget option, you'll have a clear choice: simple and affordable. Or Pro features and haptics. Connectivity is where the mini but mighty theme continues. Expect at least Wi-Fi 6E, and there's a real chance of Wi-Fi 7 if Apple wants to align the Mini with the rest of the 2025-2026 lineup. In the US, that means faster, more stable connections in crowded apartments, offices, lecture halls, and airports, great for remote desktops, cloud gaming, and big downloads. 5G models should keep sub-6 nationwide coverage, with mmWave in select US carrier configs. Also expect Apple to lean even harder into eSIM in the States. And the USB-C port? The current Mini already supports USB-C with decent speeds, but it's reasonable to expect faster wired transfers, think 10 Gbps, so offloading ProRes clips, raw photos, or big Lightroom catalogs to an SSD won't feel like watching paint dry. Let's talk storage. because this could save you money. Apple's been moving base storage on new iPads up to 128GB, and it makes absolute sense for the Mini 8 to start there. If you've ever bought a 64GB device and regretted it 6 months later, this change alone is huge. With app sizes ballooning and offline video maps and games taking tens of gigabytes, 128GB should be the new floor. Expect options like 128, 256, and maybe 512GB. On memory, look for 6 to 8GB of RAM depending on storage tier, which helps with keeping more Safari tabs and Pro apps alive without reloads. Battery life should stay in the classic iPad zone. Apple targets around 10 hours of mixed use on Wi-Fi. The magic comes from the new chip efficiency. Same compact battery, but better endurance in real life, especially when you're sketching, reading, or watching long lectures. And for the pilots who love the Mini for ForeFlight, brighter display plus efficient silicon equals cooler operation and more reliable runtime in the cockpit. Thermals are a quiet success metric for the Mini. This generation should run cooler under load, which means better sustained performance without throttling. Design and build? Expect the same modern flat-edge look, the ultra-portable feel, and Touch ID in the top button. This design has aged really well, and it's what makes the Mini special. It's a book-sized tablet that disappears in your bag but never feels like a compromise. We'll probably see refreshed colors, muted, classy tones that match the current lineup. No smart connector is likely, and no Face ID. Those are pro luxuries Apple tends to keep higher up the line. Now, price. This is the big question for everyone. The current Mini tier has hovered around that $499 price point in the US, with occasional adjustments. With a new chip, potentially better camera placement, and Pencil Pro support, Apple could justify a bump. Realistically, expect a starting price in the $499 to $549 range in the US. If base storage moves to 128GB, a small price increase could still be a better overall deal. Alright, when is it coming? Apple typically uses 2 windows for iPad updates, spring and fall. We've seen March-April events that focus on education and productivity, and we've seen October-November events tuned for iPad and Mac. If the next Mini is in Apple's late 2025 pipeline, the most realistic window is fall, September through November, possibly via press release if supply is tight, or a short virtual keynote if it anchors a bigger iPad story. If something slips, a spring window the following year is the backup. How can you tell it's close? Watch for regulatory filings hitting databases, case manufacturers updating listings, and Apple's refurb store quietly adjusting inventory on the current Mini. Those are the breadcrumbs that usually appear a few weeks before launch. Now, I promised a simple buyer weight guide, so here it is. If you need an iPad Mini right now for school, flying, work checklists, or as your go-everywhere reader and gaming device, and you find a good deal on the current model, buy it. The current Mini is still excellent, and if you keep it 2 to 3 years, you'll have gotten your money's worth long before the next model lands. If you care about any of these 3 things, wait, you want the landscape front camera for better video calls? You want Apple Pencil Pro for serious note-taking or art? Or you want the latest A-series chip for gaming longevity and on-device AI features? Those are the upgrades most likely to change your day-to-day experience. And they're exactly the kind of changes Apple tends to bring to a generational refresh. If you're holding out specifically for 120Hz ProMotion or an OLED display on the Mini, don't wait. Those features are unlikely on this model. If high refresh is a must for you, look at an iPad Pro or consider that 60Hz on an 8.3-inch screen is still very good for reading, writing, and casual gaming. And remember, a potential display controller tweak to reduce jelly scroll would address the biggest real-world complaint without needing 120Hz. If price is your deciding factor, do this. Set a price alert for certified, refurbished, or retail deals on the current Mini, and give it a few weeks around Apple's fall window. When a new model approaches, retailers in the US often cut prices to clear inventory. A $100 to $150 discount on the current Mini with 256GB storage may be better for you than paying full price for the new base model, especially if you don't care about the front camera move or Pencil Pro.